The sun was bright, the street was crowded, and everyone was watching. When the officer grabbed her arm, he thought this would be another quick show of power. Another moment no one would question. Phones came out. Voices went quiet. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She didn't beg. Instead, she stood there, calm, unafraid, as if she already knew how this would end. And in that moment, before anyone realized the truth, one badge was about to lose its power, and another was about to change everything. The shout comes out of nowhere. Sharp, commanding, loud enough to turn heads before minds can catch up. Hands where I can see them. Now. The words slice through the warm afternoon air and land heavy on the sidewalk like a dropped weight. Conversations stop mid-sentence. Footsteps slow. The sound of traffic fades behind the sudden tension. A black woman stands still beside a coffee shop window, sunlight washing over her pressed blazer and neat slacks. She does not flinch. She does not jump. She simply freezes, as if the world is paused around her, as if time itself is waiting to see what happens next. The sun is high, bright, unforgiving. It exposes everything, every face, every reaction. There is nowhere to hide on a day like this. The sidewalk is crowded with office workers on late lunches, tourists clutching drinks, students laughing too loudly. Phones are already lifting into the air, screens glowing, lenses pointed. People know what moments like this can become. They have seen it before. They have learned to record first and ask questions later. The woman feels the weight of those eyes on her back, on her shoulders, on the back of her neck. She keeps her hands visible. She keeps her face calm. Silence settles over her like armor. The officer steps closer, boots heavy against the concrete. His shadow stretches long and sharp across the pavement, cutting across her polished shoes. He is breathing fast, the kind of breath that comes with adrenaline and control mixed together. "You think you're above the law?" he snaps, his voice rising just enough to draw more attention. He wants an audience. He wants witnesses. He wants her small in front of everyone. She says nothing. That quiet unsettles him. Silence always does. He expects fear. He expects excuses. He expects anger. When none of that comes, his jaw tightens. He takes another step into her space, close enough that she can smell coffee on his breath, close enough that the metal of his badge catches the sunlight and flashes like a warning. He reaches out and grabs her arm, hard, fingers digging in without hesitation. He spins her toward the patrol car parked at the curb, the movement sudden and rough. A gasp ripples through the crowd. Someone mutters, "Hey!" Someone else lifts their phone higher. A child's voice cuts through the murmurs, small and confused, asking his mother what is happening. The mother pulls him closer, her eyes never leaving the scene. The woman stumbles once, then catches herself. Her shoes scrape against the pavement. She straightens immediately, spine tall, chin level. She does not pull away. She does not resist. That only seems to please him more. A smirk tugs at the corner of his mouth, slow and satisfied. This is familiar to him. This is where he feels strong. This is where his voice gets loud and his badge feels heavy with meaning. "Another one who thinks rules don't apply," he says, loud enough for the crowd to hear, his tone dripping with mockery. He shakes his head like he's disappointed. Like this is all her fault. Like he's been forced into this moment by her existence alone. She looks at him then, really looks at him, straight into his eyes. Her face is calm, composed, unreadable. No tears, no shaking, no pleading. That look stops him for half a second, just long enough for confusion to flicker across his face. People expect her to beg. They expect her to cry. They expect her voice to crack. She does none of that. "I advise you to stop," she says quietly. Her voice is steady, low, controlled. It does not rise to meet his volume. It does not challenge him in the way he understands challenge. That makes it worse. He laughs, a sharp sound that bounces off the storefront windows. "Is that a threat?" he asks, leaning in closer, his grip tightening. The metal of the patrol car is inches away now, radiating heat from hours under the sun. He angles her toward it, pressing her forward just enough to make a point. Sunlight reflects off his badge again, bright and blinding. It feels like a spotlight. The humiliation is deliberate, public, designed for an audience, designed to break something inside her. He wants her small. He wants her embarrassed. He wants to remind her where he thinks she belongs. But something is off. She isn't scared. Her breathing stays slow, measured, in through the nose, out through the mouth, years of control in every breath. Her shoulders stay relaxed. Her posture doesn't fold. There is no panic in her eyes, only patience, only waiting. The crowd senses it too. A shift, a quiet tension that feels different from the usual scenes they've seen online. Whispers move through the onlookers. Why isn't she reacting? She's so calm. This doesn't feel right. The officer pushes her against the car. Her palms touch the hot metal, heat seeping through the fabric of her blazer. Cameras zoom closer. You can hear the faint digital clicks, the soft hum of phones recording. This moment is being captured from every angle. The officer raises his voice again, feeding off the attention. This is what happens when you don't know your place. He says. The words hang in the air, heavy and ugly. They land not just on her, but on everyone watching. A man across the street clenches his jaw. A woman near the coffee shop window shakes her head slowly. The child goes quiet. The woman closes her eyes for a brief moment, just a second, not in fear, not in defeat, in patience, like someone counting silently, like someone waiting for a door to open. In that pause, the officer feels something he doesn't expect, a faint unease, a question he can't quite name. Power usually feels clean to him, clear, but right now it feels slippery, unstable. He tightens his grip again as if holding harder will fix that feeling. He starts talking faster, explaining himself to the crowd more than to her. You match the description, he says. Loitering, suspicious behavior. His words tumble out, practiced phrases strung together. He needs the story to sound right. He needs to be right. She opens her eyes and looks at him again. There is no anger there, no fear, just a calm that doesn't belong in moments like this. It unsettles him more than shouting ever could. People lean closer, drawn in by the tension. A man in a suit lowers his phone slightly, studying her face. A woman whispers, "Something's different about her." The officer hears none of it, or maybe he hears everything and refuses to listen. He presses her forward another inch. The metal burns. She does not flinch. The sun beats down, bright and relentless, lighting every detail. Sweat beads on his forehead. His uniform feels tighter. His chest rises and falls faster now. "You hear me?" he demands. "I hear you," she replies, still calm. That calm lands like a challenge, whether she intends it or not. His jaw tightens again. He feels the crowd slipping from his control, their attention no longer feeding him the way it did moments ago. Instead of fear, he sees curiosity, doubt. He doesn't like doubt. He adjusts his stance, making a show of authority. He wants to remind everyone who holds the power here. He reaches for his radio, then stops, glancing at her again. Something about the way she stands, the way she holds herself, doesn't match his assumptions. She doesn't look lost. She doesn't look cornered. She looks like someone who knows exactly where she is. The crowd waits, breath held, phone steady. The street noise creeps back in around the edges, but the moment stays tight, focused, stretched thin. Somewhere deep in his confidence, a crack forms. Small, barely noticeable, but real, because power feels different when the other person isn't afraid. He feels it now, even if he doesn't understand it. A sense that this moment is not unfolding the way it usually does, that the script he knows by heart is slipping, that the silence he thought he controlled is no longer his. She stays still. She waits, and the sidewalk, bathed in bright daylight, holds its breath with her. The officer reaches for his radio like he's stepping onto a stage. His shoulders square. His voice rises. He wants the whole street to hear him now. "Dispatch, I need backup," he says, loud and clear, turning slightly so the crowd can see the badge on his chest. "Suspicious behavior. Non-compliant subject." He repeats it slower the second time, like he's reading from a script he's practiced before. Like this is a role he knows well. People exchange looks. Suspicious. Non-compliant. The words feel heavy, official, dangerous. The woman stands with her hands still visible, her body angled against the hot metal of the patrol car. She hasn't moved, hasn't tried to pull away. The crowd can see that. Everyone can. And yet the words hang there, painting a picture that doesn't match the reality in front of them. For the first time since this began, she speaks again. "You're making a mistake." Her voice is calm even, not loud enough to compete with his. Not soft enough to sound weak, just steady. That sentence hits him harder than shouting ever could. His jaw tightens, his eyes narrow. Resistance he understands. Silence he can dominate. But this calm certainty, this quiet warning, it irritates him deep in his chest. He steps closer again, invading her space as if proximity alone can erase what she just said. He starts patting her down, rough and careless. Hands sliding where they don't need to slide, pressure where there is no threat. The crowd stiffens as one. A woman gasps. A man steps forward before thinking better of it. "She didn't do anything!" he shouts, his voice cracking with anger. The officer snaps his head toward him. One look, cold, sharp, a look that says, "Stay out of it or you're next." The man freezes. His mouth closes. He steps back into the crowd, fists clenched at his sides. "You people always have an excuse," the officer mutters, not even trying to hide the words now. They slip out easy, familiar, like something he's said 100 times before. The woman's jaw tightens, just a little. Anyone watching closely would see it. But her voice stays calm when she speaks again. "You've crossed a line," he scoffs, a short laugh bursting from his chest. "You don't get to tell me where the line is," he says, leaning closer, his breath hot against the side of her face. Sunlight reflects off the glass buildings around them, bouncing light back onto the sidewalk. There are no shadows to hide in, no darkness to blur the truth. Every movement is clear, every word heard. This isn't happening in an alley or behind closed doors. It's happening in the open, in full daylight, in front of witnesses who will remember it long after this moment ends. The officer reaches for his cuffs. The metal glints in the sun as they swing free from his belt. The sound they make is small but sharp, a warning, a promise. The crowd leans in, sensing the shift. This is the point of no return. That's when she speaks again. She says his name, not loud, not dramatic, just his name, softly, perfectly, like she's known it for a long time. His hand freezes mid-air. For half a second, the world seems to stop. The cuffs hang between them, catching the light. His eyes flick up to her face. Confusion flashes across it before he can hide it. "How do you know my—" he starts, then cuts himself off, shaking his head like he's shaking away a bad thought. "Nice try," he snaps, his voice rising again. "You think that's gonna scare me?" She straightens despite his grip, rolling her shoulders back, reclaiming the space he's tried to take from her. "Badge number 3179, she says calmly. "Filed 2 complaints last year, both dismissed." The words land hard. The crowd goes quiet. Not a murmur, not a whisper. Even the traffic noise seems to fade, like the street itself is listening now. Phones stay raised, but hands tremble. This isn't part of the usual script. The officer's smile falters, just for a second, a crack too quick for him to fully hide. Then it snaps back into place, wider than before, tighter, forced. "You've been Googling," he snaps. "Doesn't change anything." But his voice is louder now, sharper, less controlled. He talks fast, like he's trying to outrun the feeling crawling up his spine. "Anyone can look that stuff up," he adds, more to himself than to her. She meets his eyes again. There is no triumph there, no fear, just certainty. "You sure about that?" she asks. Something shifts in his chest. Anger surges up to cover it. He doesn't answer. He slams the cuffs shut around her wrists anyway. The click echoes down the sidewalk. Final, violent, a sound people know too well, a sound that means control. Or at least that's what it's supposed to mean. A woman in the crowd lets out a small cry. The man who spoke up earlier squeezes his eyes shut. Phones zoom closer, capturing the red marks already forming on her skin. The officer turns her toward the car, gripping her arm tighter now. He wants this over. He wants her in the back seat where he doesn't have to look at her face anymore, where the questions in his head can't reach him, and then he hears it. The low hum of an engine, not the familiar growl of a patrol car. Something smoother. He glances up just as a black SUV rolls to a stop at the curb. No sirens, no flashing lights, just quiet confidence. The vehicle looks out of place and perfectly placed at the same time. The driver's door opens. 2 men step out, dark suits, calm movements, eyes that scan the scene in seconds. One of them closes the door gently, like there's no rush at all, like they arrived exactly when they meant to. The officer's grip loosens without him realizing it. The crowd feels it before he does. A ripple of unease moves through them. Whispers start again, low and urgent. "Who are they? What's going on? That's not police!" The woman exhales slowly. The tension in her shoulders eases just a fraction. The men walk toward them, shoes clicking softly against the pavement. No shouting, no commands, just presence. Authority that doesn't need volume. The officer straightens, trying to recover, trying to remember his role. "This is an active situation," he starts, his voice coming out higher than he expects. "You need to step back." One of the men reaches into his jacket and flashes a badge. Federal. The word doesn't need to be spoken. It hangs there, heavy and undeniable. The officer swallows. His mouth opens, then closes. His eyes dart to the woman's face. For the first time, real fear flickers there. The man with the badge looks at the woman with respect. "Agent Carter," he says calmly. "We were wondering how long it would take." The officer's breath catches. "Agent." The word echoes in his head, loud and unforgiving. The woman turns her head slightly, meeting the agent's gaze. "Longer than it should have," she replies quietly. The crowd erupts in gasps. Phones shake. Someone whispers, "FBI?" Like they can't believe the word they're saying. The officer's hands begin to tremble. He fumbles with the cuffs, suddenly eager to undo what he just did. "I didn't know," he stammers. "If I had known—" She turns to face him fully now. Sunlight catches the small badge clipped inside her jacket, one he never bothered to look for. "That," she says calmly, "is the problem." The men step closer. Control shifts without a single raised voice. Questions are asked, names requested. The officer tries to explain, words spilling out faster and messier now. He gestures toward the crowd, toward the car, toward anything that might anchor him. But the power has left his voice. Backup sirens wail in the distance, but they're no longer coming for her. The woman rubs her wrists, red marks visible, undeniable, evidence in plain sight. Witnesses step forward without being asked. The man who shouted earlier speaks up again, stronger this time. The woman with the coffee cup nods, adding her account. Phones capture everything. The officer shrinks under it all, his shoulders sagging, his confidence collapsing in real time. He looks smaller now. Not because she is FBI, but because he assumed she was nothing. She watches him quietly as the agents take over, her face unreadable. No smile, no satisfaction. Just resolve. And as the black SUV idles at the curb, the crowd senses that this story is far from over. The balance has shifted, but the weight of what comes next hangs heavy in the air, leaving the sidewalk buzzing with one unanswered question. What happens when power finally answers to truth? The SUV door opens slowly, not with urgency, not with noise, but with intention. The kind of slow that makes people notice. The kind that tells the street this moment matters. The crowd feels it before they understand it. Conversations die, phones steady, even the officer feels it, though he doesn't know why yet. The door opens all the way, and for a brief second, nothing happens. Just the quiet hum of the engine, just sunlight bouncing off black paint. Then two men step out. They move with calm purpose. Dark suits, clean lines, no wasted motion. Their eyes scan everything in seconds. The officer, the woman, the cuffs, the red marks on her wrists, the crowd, the phones, the patrol car. They don't rush, they don't hesitate. They walk like men who know exactly where they are and why they've arrived. One of them reaches into his jacket and flashes a badge. Federal. The word never needs to be spoken. It lands anyway, heavy, final. The officer freezes, not like before, not stiff with anger or pride. This is different. This is a freeze that comes from realization, from fear, from understanding that something irreversible has just happened. His shoulders lock. His breath catches halfway in. His eyes widen just enough to show the crack he's been hiding all along. The woman exhales. It's the first real breath she's taken since this began, slow, controlled, like letting go of a weight she's been carrying alone. Her shoulders relax just slightly. The tension in her jaw eases, not relief, not victory. Just release. "Agent Carter," one of the men says, his voice calm, respectful, steady. "We were wondering how long it would take." The officer's face drains of color. The crowd gasps almost as one. The sound ripples outward, a wave of shock moving through bodies packed tight together. Phones shake. A woman covers her mouth. A man whispers something under his breath, not even sure what he's saying. "Agent," the officer whispers. The word slips out of him before he can stop it. Small, broken, almost childlike. He looks at the woman again, really looks at her now, like he's seeing her for the first time. His eyes move over her blazer, her posture, her calm, all the details he ignored, all the signs he dismissed. She turns to face him fully. The sunlight catches the edge of a small badge clipped neatly inside her jacket. Gold, sharp, real. It glints once, bright and undeniable. It was there the whole time, close enough to see. Easy to miss if you never bothered to look. Federal Bureau of Investigation, she says. Her voice is calm, clear, no anger, no pride, just truth. The street explodes. Gasps turn into whispers. Whispers turn into urgent murmurs. Phones zoom in. Someone laughs in disbelief. Someone else swears under their breath. The energy shifts completely, like a storm breaking open. This isn't a rumor. This isn't speculation. It's real. It's happening right here, right now, in full daylight. The officer's hands start to shake. He fumbles with the cuffs like they're suddenly foreign objects. Too fast, too eager. He wants them off. He needs them off. The metal rattles as he unlocks them, his fingers clumsy, betraying him. The sound is loud in the silence that has followed the shock. I didn't know, he stammers. His voice cracks. He tries again. If I had known, I never would have. She pulls her hands free and rubs her wrists slowly. Red marks stand out against her skin. Fresh, angry, visible to everyone watching. Evidence that doesn't need words. That, she says, her eyes never leaving his face, is the problem. The words are quiet. They don't echo. They don't need to. They settle into the space between them and stay there. Backup arrives. But not for him. Another vehicle pulls up, unmarked. Doors open. More suits. More calm faces. The FBI agents take control of the space without raising their voices. They position themselves naturally, blocking angles, creating order where chaos was moments ago. Authority shifts hands without a struggle. Questions begin. Names, badge numbers, times, locations. The agents speak calmly, writing everything down. Recording. Documenting. The officer tries to speak, tries to jump in, but his words trip over each other now. His confidence has drained away completely. Witnesses step forward. They don't need to be asked twice. A man explains what he saw. A woman adds what she heard. Someone shows a video already playing back on their phone. Each voice stacks on top of the next, building a picture that can't be argued with. This didn't happen in the shadows. This didn't happen behind closed doors. It happened in the open, in the light. The officer starts explaining himself again, talking faster, sweating, gesturing toward the woman, toward the patrol car, toward the street. I was just doing my job, he says. She matched a description. I followed procedure. But his voice doesn't carry anymore. It doesn't command attention. It doesn't control the space. It sounds thin, defensive, small. He isn't loud anymore. He's shrinking. The FBI agents listen without reacting. They write, they nod, they ask follow-up questions that cut through his excuses clean and sharp. He can't dodge them, he can't talk over them, he can't intimidate them. The crowd watches as the man who once filled the sidewalk with his voice now barely holds his ground. His shoulders slump, his eyes drop, his badge seems heavier now, like it's pulling him down instead of lifting him up. The woman stands off to the side, quiet. She doesn't smile. She doesn't gloat. She doesn't say, I told you so. She simply watches. Her hands are steady now, her breathing even. She observes the scene the same way she observed him earlier, calm and composed. The authority he abused is collapsing under its own weight. Not because she is FBI, but because he assumed she wasn't anything at all. That truth hangs heavy over the sidewalk. It settles into the cracks between the concrete. It presses down on every person watching, forcing them to confront it. This didn't start because she was federal. It started because he decided she was beneath him. An agent approaches her quietly. Are you okay? He asks. She nods once. I will be. He gives a small nod in return. Respect, not fear, not surprise, just respect. The officer watches this exchange from a few steps away. Something breaks in his expression. Regret, maybe, or realization. Or the understanding that this moment will follow him long after today ends. That it will be written down, reviewed, remembered. A child in the crowd tugs on his mother's sleeve. Is she in trouble? He asks. The mother shakes her head slowly. No, she says, she never was. The agents continue their work. Statements are finished. Videos collected. The officer is guided aside now, no longer the center of attention. Just another man standing quietly while someone else holds the authority. The woman looks up at the sky for a moment. The sun is still bright, unchanged. The world hasn't stopped because of this moment. People still walk by, cars still pass. Life continues, but something has shifted. The crowd begins to thin, though many linger, reluctant to leave the ending of a story they were pulled into without warning. Phones lower slowly. Conversations start again, quieter now, thoughtful. The black SUV waits at the curb. One of the agents opens the door for her. She pauses before getting in and looks back once more, not at the officer specifically, at the sidewalk, at the people, at the place where this all happened. There is no triumph in her eyes, only resolve. As she steps into the SUV and the door closes behind her, the engine hums softly. The vehicle pulls away without sirens, without drama, disappearing into the flow of traffic as quietly as it arrived. The officer remains on the sidewalk, surrounded by agents and paperwork and the weight of his own actions. The noise of the city fills the space again, but it feels different now. Like the street itself remembers what just happened. Because today wasn't about a badge. It was about what happens when power meets truth in broad daylight. And the echo of that lesson lingers, unresolved, pressing forward into whatever comes next. Internal affairs moves fast, but the footage moves faster. It jumps from phone to phone, from screen to screen, from quiet group chats to loud news feeds. It plays in break rooms, on buses, in living rooms where families sit silent and watch together. The same moment, again and again, the grab, the shove, the cuffs, the pause, the badge. Daylight makes it impossible to deny. There are no shadows to argue with, no missing angles, just truth, exposed and sharp. By the end of the week, the officer is suspended. By the end of the next, he is charged. The words feel heavy when they hit the air. Charged, under investigation, pending review. His name trends for a day, then two. People argue online. Some defend him out of habit, some condemn him with fury, but the footage keeps playing, calm and steady, refusing to bend to opinion. His reputation dissolves the same way the injustice did, in full daylight. No drama, no excuses strong enough to survive the light. He stays home now. The uniform hangs untouched in his closet. The badge sits in a drawer, dull without the sun catching it. The silence is loud. He replays the moment in his head, not the crowd, not the cameras, but the look on her face. Calm, unafraid, waiting. That look follows him into sleep and wakes him before the alarm. Power feels different when it's gone, empty, hollow. He is not the center of the story anymore, and that is something he cannot fix. Days later, the woman walks into a training room filled with new recruits. The room is bright, wide windows thrown open. Sunlight pours in, landing on desks and faces and the polished floor. Dust floats in the air, visible in the light. This is not a courtroom, not a street. It feels clean, honest, like a place meant for beginnings. The recruits sit straight. Some recognize her immediately, others don't. They whisper softly until the room settles. She stands at the front without ceremony. No podium, no microphone, just presence. She waits until the last shuffle stops, until every eye is on her. Silence stretches, but it's a comfortable silence, a listening silence. Authority doesn't come from a badge, she says. Her voice is calm even. It doesn't echo, but it fills the room. The words land gently and stay. It comes from restraint. No one moves. Pens stop mid-note. A few recruits swallow hard. They expected a speech about rules, about danger, about respect demanded. They didn't expect this. She lets the quiet sit for a moment. She understands silence. She knows its power. Every time you assume someone is beneath you, she continues, walking slowly between the rows, you expose what kind of power you really have. Some eyes drop, some lift. A few faces tighten with recognition. She doesn't accuse, she doesn't point. She simply states a truth that feels uncomfortably close. She tells them about daylight, about witnesses, about how authority feels loud when it's unsure of itself, how real strength doesn't need volume. She talks about patience, about listening, about how fast a moment can turn when you decide someone isn't worth respect. Her words are simple, clear, built to last. The officer is never mentioned by name. He doesn't need to be, because this story was never about him. It was about dignity. She finishes without applause. She doesn't ask for it. The room stays quiet as she steps back, giving them time to sit with what they've heard. Some recruits nod slowly. Others stare straight ahead, thinking about the badge they haven't earned yet and the kind of person they want to be when they do. She leaves the room the same way she entered, calm, unhurried. Outside, the sun waits for her, warm, honest. She steps into it and breathes deeply. The weight she carried that day on the sidewalk is gone now, replaced by something lighter. Resolve, purpose, freedom. People pass her without knowing who she is or what she's done. She likes it that way. She doesn't need recognition. She needed respect. And she carried that with her long before anyone else noticed. Somewhere else, the footage plays again for someone seeing it for the first time. A pause, a breath, a badge beneath a jacket. The lesson lands fresh every time. Power reveals who you are when you think no one important is watching. Respect should come first, not because of titles, not because of badges, but because you never know who someone is until it's too late. Muji es story ka powerful or strong starting hook bna kijo views kopakar kiraki 30 seconds taco English me. Here is a powerful cinematic 30-second opening hook designed to freeze viewers instantly and hold attention, written exactly in the Blacktail story's emotional style. The sun was bright, the street was crowded, and everyone was watching. When the officer grabbed her arm, he thought this would be another quick show of power, another moment no one would question. Phones came out. Voices went quiet. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She didn't beg. Instead, she stood there, calm, unafraid, as if she already knew how this would end, and in that moment, before anyone realized the truth, one badge was about to lose its power, and another was about to change everything.